everybody. I'm Regina Bryan, and welcome to the Women of Empowered Living. My guest today has been a Keller Williams agent for 8 years. As a matter of fact, she and I met through a mutual KW connection. She's also a loving wife, mother, and is currently battling stage 4 breast cancer. As many of you know, October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So we thought, what a perfect time to have Denise Hanti here to share her story. Welcome, Denise. Hey there, Denise.
Hi, how are you? I'm glad
great.
to be here, Regina.
I'm so glad to have you. Where are you joining us from today?
I'm in Dallas, Texas.
Where my stepson lives. So when I get out there, I'll have to come knock on your door.
You will. Come visit.
I would love
Got lots of love in Texas.
Well, you look just radiant today. So thank you for taking time to sit down and chat for a little bit. Before we get to the first big defining moment, talk to us a little bit about your business and real estate, your family. What was life like for you before it suddenly changed?
I was going right along. I had been in real estate just for a few years, 3 years. When I was originally diagnosed, I had my husband, 2 kids that were in elementary school, just in kindergarten and first grade. I have a girl that's was in first grade and a boy that's in kindergarten at the time. And that, gosh, at the age of 42, all of a sudden, I just woke up and found a lump.
Take us back to that day, Denise. You said now initially you woke up and found a lump. So talk to us about that first.
Yes, I had prior to that, I guess having your mammograms done, they said, oh, we see something, it's just nothing. You get it tested and it's nothing, right? It ends up being, in my situation, it ended up being some calcifications, and there was nothing to worry about. I didn't feel like anything was to worry about. But that morning that I felt the lump, I knew that was something. It definitely felt like something.
Sometimes we know that we know something. What gave you that intuition?
It wasn't soft, it was harder. So I was like, this is something, this is really something. And I even had my husband, I said, do you feel this? He felt it too. And right away I felt in my spirit it was something. And so immediately started figuring out who I needed to see and getting into the doctor's office. And by the grace of God, I got into a OBGYN that immediately got me in the same day, even though I wasn't a prior patient of hers. It was a referral from another friend, got me in, and then she immediately got me to get a biopsy done for it too.
And so so the same day, you know what that's unique about your story, you never really hear that. Like, I found a lump and the same day I was in.
Correct.
Usually there's a bit of a gap, either out of just disbelief. I think that could have easily been me, or just out of, I'll make the appointment next week or next month. So thank you for saying that you went in the same day, because that's not lost on me. That's not lost on me.
No, it's so important. I think more than anything, I've learned that you really have to listen to your body. And it was my body saying something was wrong. So I needed to get in to see somebody as soon as possible.
Such a powerful and simple message. So you went in the same day. Talk to us now about that visit and what happened.
Well, when I went to see the OBGYN, she did similar to what I had was concerned about, had the same thoughts that it could be cancerous. So we went in to do the biopsy, but with the biopsy, you don't get instant results. It does go off to be tested. So it was days later when I got the call. And I remember getting the call, remember sitting in the driveway, was about to head out to a gathering that had been planned for over a month, gals gathering. But I got the news that not only did I have cancer, and breast cancer, but I had the triple negative breast cancer, which is the rarest, most aggressive type of breast cancer. And I sat there and just, you're in shock. It's complete shock. And I'm thinking, do I need to stay home, or should I go to this gathering with other women? There were coworkers that I dearly love. And my thought was, no, somebody, God knew when I would be receiving the news, and who knew who I needed to surround myself with. And it was these women. So I did go ahead and go visit with them.
And did you talk to them about your brand new news that evening?
I was still in shock. I didn't know what to think, but you know what? God had placed me in a room full of women through the course of, I used to be in human resources for 15 years, and these were HR folks that I had worked with for many years, ladies, but all of them had their own personal cancer stories. And so I feel like it was, cathartic in a way that I was surrounded by other women who understood it, whether it was them themselves had been through it, or a loved one, or, nevertheless, you're still touched by cancer.
Absolutely. And so you did share the news with those ladies that evening, and I'm sure you were just greeted with support and encouragement.
Absolutely. And definitely where I needed to be at that moment in time, feeling
And
the
that's
love
the
and
first,
support.
and that's the first day.
That was the first day,
What,
getting the news. Yes.
what happens when you wake up the next day and the next week, and what is this like?
So for me, there's stages of grief, I think, that you go through, and looking back is very different than when I was going through it.
Yeah.
I was just ready to take on whatever was ahead of me, and my business was flourishing. I was grateful at that point, third year in the business, I was getting referrals. Life was busy with the kids starting school, and just all the things. And I just kept going.
Wow.
I almost didn't skip a beat. And maybe looking back, what it would have been would be denial that
Yeah.
I was really sick. I didn't realize that I was really sick. Even when I started chemo, I was fine. I was going, and then I got allergies or something, and I thought it was allergies. And it's the middle of my chemo treatments. It actually ended up in the hospital, and with pneumonia that went sepsis. And so that is when I knew I was
And
really
that was
sick.
halfway into your chemo treatment, because this was 2016. Was this spring or?
It was spring of 2016 that I landed myself in the hospital for almost a month. And that is when I realized this was something, and that I needed to slow down and appreciate life. And so there were days that I was super tired and wasn't getting out of bed. And the greatest thing that I could do was get the kids in bed with me, and we could watch movies or something together. But
Yeah, how was your family coping with this news and through your chemo treatment, and how were the kids doing and your husband?
I would say cancer does impact everybody in the family. I did take it upon myself to get the kids with a child life specialist. And then I can't say enough good things about the school and the counselor and the principal at the time. They supported and they loved on my kids. And they even let my daughter, who had an idea, to support me in a way, because when you have cancer, you lose your hair. And that's a big thing to women, and especially to a young girl, impressionable. She wanted to do a hat day at school. And so the principal allowed that to happen. So I was grateful for that. So I would say that I felt like I gave them enough information, and I wanted to share it with them, so that they knew I was going to do whatever I could to get well. And part of that, you'd start seeing mom tired, or mom not being, not having her hair anymore.
Yeah, a lot must have changed because you were that mom that was active. You were an active realtor, an active mom, and then things had to change. And the chemo tired you, and you just, it was a different life for you and for the kids.
It was a totally different life. But I think for the kids, they just wanted to know that that their life was going to continue on, and people around us were helping, and so grateful that we had not only family helping at the time, we also had phenomenal neighbors. And then my KW office is amazing. They treat me like a second family, and were very supportive with food and meals and just anything that.
Well, that's the beauty of KW.
Yeah.
I mean, the office rally.
Yes. Grateful for them. And so they're just like my second family. My husband also took it really hard, even said things such as, he wished it was him instead of me, So I would say
one of the hardest changes was probably your husband having to watch you go through this.
Yeah, I think the spouse and having to go through it or whoever that primary caregiver is, such a difficult role, and anything that you can do to get them love and the support and some sense of normalcy for them, whether that's, just being able to vent to somebody, or hopefully getting professional, counseling or something.
I think it was a very smart thing. You talked about getting counseling for your children and just trying to have as normal life as possible for the kids. So, until you said that, I don't know if I would have thought about that as a go-to for kids. And your kids were so young when this first started happening. But I think, do you look back as that getting the kids in counseling one of those really, really good, smart moves?
Absolutely. They're called child life specialists, and people don't realize that. Yeah, people don't realize that most hospitals have them, and it's part of palliative care. And people think of that as more of end of life care, but it's not. It really is somebody who specializes in children and helping that, conversation. So I was able to have conversations with them, and then they were able to speak alone to somebody who specialized in it as well.
That is so good and such a key piece for children.
Yeah.
So this diagnosis, you're in the hospital, how many months or so did this go on at this level? And then I think at some point you started kind of feeling like your old self again.
Well, gratefully, mine was a little bit longer because I did go through chemo first, and they wanted to shrink down the tumors. And then the plan was to do a double mastectomy. So I did do that. And then after that was a plan for radiation. But when they went in to do the double mastectomy, they did find some live tumor still in there. So the plan was to try and go back and do an oral chemo after that.
That was pretty aggressive.
Yes.
And that was probably recommended for your situation, chemo and a double mastectomy.
Chemo, double mastectomy, radiation, hit it from all angles, and then even get some oral chemo on the bottom at the end of that. So it was a lot longer than most people. A lot of people just get, either chemo or just get radiation, or chemo, radiation, and whatever they choose for their surgery. But then, I added on the oral chemo as well. So, and that I did that for 6 months. And after that, I was excited to hear there was, no evidence of disease, and very joyous day. I still remember it.
Oh, now talk to us for just a minute before we continue forward. What's happening mentally and emotionally when you're right? A lot of people, when you first get diagnosed, it's typically not at the level or not at the stage. I'm guessing the way you were initially diagnosed, it was like, we got to go all in. you need chemo, radiation, double mastectomy.
Mhm.
What is the experience, if this is a fair question, something that you can speak into, what is that like, a double mastectomy on top of everything else? Can you even speak into that to give us just a glimpse of what you were feeling and thinking through that process?
Yeah. I think through the whole journey, you're continuous in that grief cycle of a roller coaster. You're going up and then you're going down, and then I'm going to lose a part of my body that made me feminine, and losing my hair and losing my breast. And it was just a challenge. I mean, I knew that I wanted to do a double mastectomy because I knew that was going to give me the most, I hoped that it had given me the whole chance to live and to
Right.
be here for my children. And so that's what I was going to do. But it is a piece of you, part of who you are, that is gone and missing. And so you do grieve it. Um, but then, you wake up the next day and you're grateful just to be alive. And
Right.
so it is a continuous cycle. And I can't say that I'm still not on that same cycle of thoughts and feelings, and but just to get through it. Yeah.
And then you talked about that joyous day when you had been through all those things. And I guess, did the doctors say no more cancer? They didn't detect anything? What was going on that day? What was the news?
That was it. No evidence. They consider it like no evidence of active disease or no evidence of disease. And so you're good. And so I thought I was good.
And was this a
Um,
year into the diagnosis, year and a half? What time
it
frame?
had already been, I originally found the lump in January of 2016. I finished up at the end of March of 2017.
Okay. A year-long process, all the
Over
emotions
a year,
up and
yeah,
down.
15 months. I was like ready to be done.
I'm sure you were. So did you go right back to work and right back to being that mom that was so hands-on?
I definitely went back to work, but I choose to work differently and work smarter. And yes.
Because I'm
And
thinking, because
so
something must change for you going through 15 months of that. And then, okay, I'm cancer free. Let me go right back to it. Or like you said, you're choosing to work smarter. Maybe life looks a little bit different to you at that point.
yeah. Something that I implemented after that was on Sundays, I choose to my faith and my family and try and save those days for that. So I don't go out. I may physically talk on the phone with someone or negotiate a contract, but I don't physically go out. I try and be present with the family. And that was important to me. At least in this business, you can work 7 days a week, but
Yes.
today have a day of rest was important to me and to my family and what mattered most.
I know Keller Williams really does. I mean, they really try to instill that in us. And yet Keller Williams is also full of overachievers like yourself that are
Yes.
just all in with their clients and want to be the best. And so
Yes.
striking
Take
that
great care of them.
balance is tricky. So when I opened the show, we were mentioning that right now you're still in the cancer journey. So
Yes.
at what point from you getting that wonderful news in 2017 to today, when did things change again?
It was almost 2.5 years, almost 2.5 years later.
Was that something in the back of your mind, Denise? When you get the cancer-free momentarily, hey, let's celebrate, do you always think to yourself, what is that process? Does it still pop in your head? I wonder if it's going to come back.
You wonder and you pray that it doesn't come back. And you're trying to do everything that you can. You don't know what caused it in the first place, but you're in the back of your mind. And I was like, I got to do whatever I can so that it doesn't come back. And another moment where you really need to listen to your body. I had some symptoms of, stomach pain, unbelievable pain, and went into the doctor, just my regular primary doctor, care doctor, and they thought it was diverticulitis, and didn't, did a CT scan and everything was clear at that point. But since they did that, they didn't really identify what it was. They didn't know what it was. And so they said, no, it's not diverticulitis. But we don't know really what it was, but you're fine now. So, okay. I was like, all right, I'm going to see a GI doctor. And well, the GI doctor says you're fine. I'm fine. But I said in the back of my head, that same OBGYN that got me in that same day, I am so grateful for her. She had said, just everything you've been through, you may want to get a colonoscopy. So I was like, okay, well, I'm seeing a GI doctor. And I didn't know that the recommendations had changed. I thought you at 50 is what the recommendation used to be for a colonoscopy. And I think it's now 45 is what they're recommending.
Are you telling me, Denise, that I'm 2 years behind?
I'm telling you just to make sure to get yourself checked. And it could be, benign things that are happening and you'd rather figure it out. So, so I went in to do my first ever colonoscopy, not really thinking anything, at that point. And I get the call it was in June of 2019 that the GI doctor is like, I've never had this happen in all my years of working, and it's metastatic breast cancer. They had found an polyp, lots of people have polyps and you just think, oh, I may need to change my diet and, you'll be fine, or you get it out and that's fine. And it's precancerous, but it's gone. But in this case, he said it was metastatic breast cancer and had already reached out to my oncologist about it. And so I'm grateful that I had gone in to get my body checked out. And my oncologist would say that I was blessed to find it a lot sooner than I probably would have, because I was not having any other symptoms. She said it probably would have been another 7 or 9 months if, I could have had it floating around in there without even any knowing.
Because except for the stomach pain that you had kind of out of the blue, there were no other symptoms.
So there was a little something. I felt, in that same area, a little something under the arm. And I asked to get it looked at. And of course, the insurance didn't prove it because they didn't see any reason why. So I just kept going along. But thankfully, we found it the other way and found it through the colonoscopy. And then grateful, I have a same doctor that I was with originally when I was diagnosed. She is actual world-renowned researcher for triple negative breast cancer, Dr. Joyce O'Shaughnessy. Highly recommend her. And she's here in Dallas, so I was grateful that I got to go see her again. And we set up a plan to try and attack this metastatic breast cancer.
And it's been a journey the second time around as well, hasn't it?
Yes, I have a lot of faith in God, and I'm grateful, and I believe in healing. And
I was going to ask you about your personal faith, so I'm glad that you brought that up. How much has your personal faith seen you through this?
I would say that, and I even have a page that's called Faith Made Stronger. I think through 2016, that I learned from this journey that I'm on that my faith has been strengthened because of it. I am so grateful by the grace of God that I have Him to lean on through everything that I'm going through. And no matter what we're going through, He's still there with us, walking with us.
Wow. What's currently happening with your treatment? What is your current outlook? What's your prognosis?
So just real quickly, back when I was originally diagnosed in 2019, we went into a clinical trial that I almost did for almost a year. And then after that, I did a second treatment that had just been FDA approved And I did that probably for 9 months. And now I'm on my third treatment. Grateful that this one just started. So I'm hopeful of it. It is something that I highly recommend. Most people don't realize that to get genomic testing done, we
Oh,
have so much more than just genetic testing now. They can really take a look at the tumors. And with my genomic testing, it has recommended this particular drug that I'm on now, along with the oral chemo.
wow. So that's your high recommendation, or give us what are Denise's recommendations to all of us gals like myself in our mid to late 40s and beyond? What say something to us about what we need to be doing?
I would say don't put off. We keep running in life and we're busy with businesses and families and friends and parents and, taking care of others. Take care of yourself first and foremost. You're going to be a better person, a better mother, a better wife, a better friend, better aunt, better cousin, better, just a better overall person if you first take care of yourself. And that would be finding self-care, whatever that looks like to you, whether that's massages or that's just taking walks or doing some sort of yoga or whatever that may be for you, or just taking a weekend away from the family and having a staycation. Do that for yourself. And I would say listen to your body and do get those checks. Take the time, put it on the schedule, make it a priority to get the mammograms and the colonoscopies and any other pain or illness that's going on. Don't keep putting it off. Get it looked at. Our bodies are made to heal themselves, but they need help when they do find distress. So listen to your body.
Yeah, we have to do our part and show up in a timely fashion to get all of those checkups.
Absolutely.
Oh, Denise, you're just your story has encouraged and blessed me. I can't even tell you. The day we spoke on the phone, I think those next couple of days, I just constantly was thinking about your story, how powerful. Just it's no accident. I think it's no accident when people meet, and Paige introducing or connecting us. I just don't think it's an accident. And you've been just a complete blessing to share your story with our community. It so encouraged me. I love to wrap up by asking our guests this one final question. What does an empowered life mean to you?
Wow. I am grateful to be living an empowered life now. I wouldn't wish disease, death, divorce, or disaster on anyone. But what I would wish is that you would live as if those things had happened, and I could give that to a gift. I have a gift now that I have received on living life differently, and that's what I would want other people to know, is that they can live life to the fullest each and every day and focus on what matters most. And that includes, for me, is sharing love with others, and perfect love casts out all fear. And I would say the other thing is choose joy on a daily basis. I may not always feel well, or I may have had a bad day or had something happen with my spouse or something at work or my kids or whatever, but I have to choose purposefully that joy inside of it. Each of us, and grateful for the day. I wake up in gratitude every day for just being able to live life. And then the third thing would be to live fearlessly. It doesn't mean that we're never going to have fear, but it's to listen to the things that already God put inside of you that He wants you to share with the world, and move forward with those things. as if you weren't afraid of rejection, or you weren't afraid that you wouldn't succeed. What happens if you do succeed and you're just helping even just one person by whatever gift that you have to share? And sometimes it's just a conversation that you're having, or with someone, or just some words of wisdom that you're able to share with other people.
Ugh, simple, classic wisdom. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much, Denise, for being here today. You are pure joy.
Thank you, Regina. It was my pleasure.
Thanks,
Bye.
everybody, for watching. See you next time. Bye
Bye.
bye.